You are listening to the Path to Mindset Mastery podcast. Today's episode is Fearing Failure is Failing to Be Free. Talk about alliteration. Today, the entire focus is on helping you reframe the idea of failure and fear. Because you're going to face failure and fear on your journey, and a lot of my followers avoid it like the plague. They link failure to their self-worth, and you might not see the dollars in the bank account that you want or the number of sales in your business, and it starts to make you feel more negative, right? And from that place, what starts to come up? Lower self-worth, really limiting thoughts, and because you're basing your worth on your sales and your income, you feel like lesser of a person. And from that lesser state, do you take action? No, you just refresh social media a million times a day and refresh your online office to see if new customers came into your business and wish you had the life that you to the people that you compare to. And you make assumptions about how they have it easier and how you have it harder. And I know I'm being a little bit rough right now, but we need to reframe this. Otherwise, you're going to feel stuck. You're going to feel like nothing you do matters. You'll feel exhausted all the time. You'll be burnt out, even though most of the actions you're taking likely aren't actually the productive actions that will get you to where you want to be. And what's going to happen if that continues? Low self-worth, no confidence. Your family will never have that dream that you truly want. So what do you say we get through it today? How would that sound? Awesome. My name is Brad Bizjack. I'm a mindset coach, inspirational speaker, and for the last 3 years, I have worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and home-based business owners and help people just like you shatter limiting beliefs, overcome self-doubt, and build confidence to create the life you truly deserve. This is the Path to Mindset Mastery podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode today. I'm glad you are here. Quarantine is going bananas, and if you're probably listening to this, a couple weeks after I'm recording it, so who knows what's going on in the world right now. But anyways, throw some love on this if you've ever failed at anything. And let's be honest, do you ever view yourself as a failure? And how does that feel? When you view yourself as a failure, does that empower you or disempower you? Obviously, it disempowers you. And even if the answer to that question is no, I don't view myself as a failure, stick around because you're going to learn some really, really great stuff today to reframe the way that you view failure and fear. But I want to give you something as a thank you for spending your time with me today. It's a free download, and it's called your Mindset First Aid Kit. It's your go-to guide when you're in the dark times and you don't know how to break through. You know, when you're feeling overwhelmed, anxiety, panic, fear, all those things, when any limiting emotion comes up, it will tell you how to reverse it in seconds instead of just praying these limiting emotions go away. You'll be able to break through them in an instant, get back to building your legacy, and imagine no longer needing a week to get back on track, but instead you did it in seconds. That's what the Mindset First Aid Kit will do for you. It's all linked up below this episode, or you can find it at bradbizjack.com/mindset. And as always, if you're finding value in this podcast, make sure to take a screenshot, share it on your Insta stories, share it with people, leave us a rating and a written review. I love, love, love seeing your feedback and how much this podcast has touched you. So if you feel compelled to, we'd absolutely love it if you left us a rating and review. Share this on your stories, your social, people need to hear it. So let's get into it. Today is about reframing fear and reframing failure. It's so important because fearing failure is failing to be free. Write that down. Fearing failure is failing to be free. So about 5 years into building a network marketing business, I had a little bit of success in it, but nothing to write home about, right? And I was building it and I was feeling like I was meant for something different. I'm not saying that what I was doing was bad in any way. It's a beautiful company, beautiful programs that help people tremendously change their lives. But I just felt this calling in me that I was meant to do something different, that I was meant to help people with mindset. And I remember that I had built up this identity behind the business that I was building. I had 5 years into the business and I was helping all these people, and it was a wonderful thing. And I was so afraid to go a different direction, not just because of the financial side of things. Think about it. If I give up that business, I'd be also saying no to the income. That's scary in itself. But more so, I was kind of going through an identity crisis. I was going through what if they judge me? What if all these people that I thought were my friends no longer like me? And I was really, really afraid of that. And you know what? It turned out to be true in some instances that some people didn't like me. And we'll talk about how to get through that in a little bit. But for the most part, after going through it, I realized that, you know what? Most people were totally okay. And the reason is because they were thinking about themselves. They weren't thinking about me. That's besides the point. The point is that I was scared, very, very scared of starting something new, I was in a place where I had just gotten married, and I was thinking one of my biggest insecurities that I've ever dealt with is the fear of not being able to provide for those that I love the most. Have you ever wanted to give so much more to your family so freaking bad, but it's like, no matter what you do, it feels like you're not enough to make it happen. Like that's where I was, and I wanted to provide so much more for my family, for my wife, and we hadn't gotten to the point where we were ready for kids yet. At the time of this filming, we have a daughter on the way, which is amazing. But I was just thinking about us, just the two of us at the time. How am I going to provide for her? And so I had all this fear about what if I fail in online business? What if I fail in marketing? I'm giving up this identity. People aren't going to like me. And I'm going to have to start totally fresh and start something totally new after spending 5 years building another business and not seeing the results that I truly wanted. And it was tough. And so I went through the process of launching, my flagship course, Appreciation Academy. You can always find that at appreciationacademy.com. Just wanted to add that in there because that program has changed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people's lives, and it will change yours too. But I went through this process of launching my flagship program, Appreciation Academy. And as I was launching it, I was really, 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 really excited about what it was going to do. I poured my heart and soul into it. For months and months, I stayed up late, got up early. I remember after I finished creating it, my wife and I had a glass of wine, or maybe it was champagne or something like that, in front of the Christmas tree. I think it was December 17th of 2017. I believe it was. I believe it was 2017. Standing in front of the Christmas tree, just really, really excited about the fact that we had gotten this course up and running. And I had poured my heart and soul into it. I went all out into building this thing, and I knew it would change people's lives. I knew it would help people, and I knew it because it's exactly how I changed my life. It's it's what I wish I would have had when I was at that place in my journey where I was starting. And I launched it on January 3rd, 2018. January 3rd, 2018, I put thousands of dollars into Facebook ads, and I just put so much effort into getting my message out, and I was trying to get people onto this webinar to share this program with them because I knew it would change their lives. And 500 people said they were going to come to this webinar. And I was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, 500 people are going to come to this webinar. That means, oh my gosh, we can make like $20,000 in a day, or like $30,000 in a day. And I was so excited about what that would do for our family and how it would change my entire financial life, because I was always dealing with this stress and panic and overwhelm about money my entire life. And I remember launching this webinar and doing this webinar, and 500 people registered, and there was something like 40 showed up. 40 people showed up to this webinar. So my confidence went in the shitter right away. And then I went through this process, poured my heart and soul out into it. And I remember needing a great internet connection. So I went to my friend Amanda's house, and I had this Ethernet cord set up, and it was like this janky ass production where the Ethernet cord was going up the stairs to their room where I wouldn't be bothered. And I was up there presenting this webinar, and I had one sale. One sale. At the time, the program was valued at $297. It is not that now. It is worth so much more than that. But that's what I was charging it for, $297. And it was someone I knew, someone who had been following me for years in another business. And I remember thinking how defeated I was. Just so defeated that I spent thousands of dollars on ads, put my heart and soul into this program, and no one freaking wants it. And guess what? That happened for 10 more months. 10 more months of just putting my heart and soul into trying to get this thing off the ground. We got a couple sales here and there, but it was all leading me somewhere. And I didn't have the results that I wanted, but I kept on trying and I kept on going. And if I viewed it as a failure, there's no way, as a true failure, like I'm a failure, if I viewed it that way, there's no way it would have gotten me to where I am now. I remember getting to the point in October of 2018, and we had, changed the pricing strategy and all this stuff. And I remember finally one day, we did this presentation. It was new, something we had never done before. And we brought on 50 new clients in 10 days. 50 new clients in 10 freaking days. And it changed our lives forever. And it set us on this trajectory of becoming financially free. It set us on this trajectory of changing our entire lives, bringing Janice home from work, all these beautiful things. But please remember that that was 6 years in the making. That did not happen in 10 days. That happened in 6 years of struggling and trying and figure things out. And if I viewed it as a failure, there is no way I would have gotten to where I am now. And so I wanted to put together some reframes for you to talk about failure and fear in a different way. And the first thing that I want to start with for you that will help you get to that point is to realize that you will never get stronger if you do easy things. Please write that down. You will never get stronger if you do easy things. The path of least resistance will never lead to a prideful life. It will never lead you to where you want to go. What I've always viewed, and this is one of the things that I think is truly attributed to our success and where we are now as a business and just in life, is that I have always viewed where other people are going and intentionally sprinted the opposite direction. I've gone the opposite direction of everyone else, and it has been the most rewarding part of one of the most rewarding parts of my life. And along that way, that path that I chose, it has logs crossing it and sticks and rivers and creeks, and it's nasty, and sometimes you don't know where you're going versus the paved road that everyone else is following. And on that path, is it easy to trip? Is it easy to fall? Absolutely. We all wipe out. We all fail. It's only failure, though, if you stay down. And you've all heard these acronyms for fear, right? Going this different direction through the woods and not going the paved route, but going the path of not the path of least resistance, the harder path, the road that's less traveled. You've heard the acronyms for how scary that is, right? Fear. What is fear? People will say it's false evidence appearing real. That's one of the ways that people view fear. Some people say fuck everything and run, right? That's another way they view fear, and they go the opposite direction. My favorite acronym that I have chosen to adopt over these years is face everything and rise. Face everything and rise, because you will never get stronger if you do easy things. I'm telling you, if you take the easy way out, it might feel good for just a moment, but inside, and you know you have felt this if you've been through it, choosing the easy way out, you know on the inside, or on the outside, you might feel okay for just a day or so, but on the inside, there's this deep pain, this feeling of, I'm never going to be worth what I truly want. This feeling of not getting to where you want to go. This feeling of this calling for more. And I've faced that in my life at different times. But I'm telling you right now that if you choose the harder path, the one that you're meant to take, the one that there's so many unknowns and you don't know how to do it, and there is so much uncertainty, you will win. It won't happen right away. But you're never going to get stronger if you do easy things. Think about weightlifting. Why do we weightlift? We weightlift and we push against massive resistance to sculpt our muscles, right? That's why we lift. Well, the resistance that you face in building your business, taking that road less traveled, that's the resistance you face to sculpt your soul. That's the beauty of doing something harder. So that's tip number one, is to realize that you will never get stronger if you do easy things. The second thing is to realize that fear makes you normal. You are not broken if you're scared. You are normal. You are not broken if you experience fear on a regular basis. In fact, the most successful people seek fear out. They try to put themselves in scary situations that will cause them to grow. And let's get present, first of all, to the synonyms of fear. Or I should say your favorite flavor of fear. That is, let's say stress, overwhelm, anxiety, panic, terror, perfection, fear of rejection. Those are all just different flavors of fear. Anytime you're stressed, stress is the achiever's word for fear. That's all it is. It's the fear of what will happen if you don't do X. That's all it is. So we need to get present to what we experience as fear, but realize that if we experience it, it makes us normal. Fear does not go away as you become more successful. You just do scarier shit. That's what you do. I look at my life now and some of the actions I'm taking in my business, doing things right now that I never would have even considered doing 3, 4, 5 years ago. You just do scarier things because as you become more competent, you also build confidence. And that confidence allows you to do scarier things. So realize that if you're feeling fear, it makes you normal. You are not broken for feeling it. And it leads me to step number 3, which is stop turning fear into the enemy. Stop turning fear into the enemy. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is a natural emotion that tells you if you're going in the right direction. Let me repeat that because that might be the most important sentence of this entire podcast. Fear is the natural emotion that tells you if you're going in the right direction. I'm not talking about the survival-based fear of like a gun to your head, but fear about anything you do that's scary. It's a sign you're going the right way. So stop thinking you shouldn't feel it. Stop thinking that it's a bad thing. Fear's only job is to do one thing, to make you feel something. That's fear's job, to make you feel something. Fear is not the enemy. Waiting to stop feeling fear is the enemy. Let me repeat that. Fear is not your enemy. Waiting to stop feeling afraid is your enemy. You will never stop feeling afraid. I guarantee you right now, there are things and dreams that you have that are being put on the back burner because of fear. And I love the quote, I forgot where this is from, but who is the richest person in the world, or where is the richest source of ideas in the world? In the graveyard. Because so many people die with their dreams. They never go after them because they're afraid. They're waiting for them to have the right mindset strategy or tool for fear to go away, but I'm telling you, that is the problem. It's not accepting fear as just a normal part of life. It's waiting for fear to stop. You will always feel afraid. You need to exercise the courage muscles, not wait to stop feeling fear. And that leads me to number 4, which is to realize that when you have courage, fear gives you direction. Fear gives you direction. Fear tells you the exact direction you're supposed to go. Think about it. If, let's say, filming a live video for your audience about a particular topic that is vulnerable to you is scary as hell because you're afraid of being judged, you're afraid of what people think of you, what that means is that is the exact direction you're supposed to go. Most people see it as something to run from. You need to run towards your fears. Run towards your fears. If investing in that mastermind or that coach or that course, Appreciation Academy, is something that is scary, it is a sign to run towards it, not away from it. Think about the sensation that comes with fear. We take it to mean stop. Like, actually think about the visceral, real, physical feelings that you feel when fear comes up. Do you feel a pit in your stomach? Like, do you feel your heart starting to beat 1,000,000 miles an hour in your chest? And notice what that is telling you. Are you taking it to mean that you should stop? What if you took that feeling to mean that you should go? Like, let's go. Stephen Pressfield has a great quote, and he says, the more scared we are of a work or calling, the more sure we can be that we have to do it. And I love that quote so much. It gives you an idea, like this physical feeling, it gives you a real reaction. We need to make that a sign to explore it instead of run from it. Please take this seriously, because I'm telling you right now, fear stops all of us. Fear stops all of us. There is no way I would have gotten to where I am if I didn't run into my fears instead of running away from them. Number 5, don't remove fear, tame fear. Don't remove fear, tame fear. And this is really, really simple. The one way to tame your fears, like training a dog, is through action. Let me give you an example of my buddy Peter. Love my buddy Peter, amazing guy. And we were at Universal Studios it was spring break senior year of college. And we went to Panama City Beach, we were drinking on the beach, going to these nightclubs, all this stuff. We were just being idiot 21-year-olds. And on the way to Miami, we stopped at Universal Studios. And in Universal Studios, we had the opportunity to go to Harry Potter World, and it was so exciting. I remember there were 2 roller coasters, the Dueling Dragons. I was so excited about going on these. My buddy Jim was with us too, and we were going on the Dueling Dragons roller coaster. And Peter had never ridden a roller coaster before, and he was scared shitless. Like, we get in line, he's saying, like, leading up to it, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go after it. I'm gonna go on the roller coaster. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get in line. I'm gonna do it. We're like, awesome. And apply that to how you view your dreams. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna build a multi-6-figure business. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then he got in line. In the beginning of the line, when you first start off, it's not as scary, right? Because you still have a way to go, but then you get through all the queues and you get to the stairs. And then you realize that you can't see the exit anymore. Apply that to where you are in your business. Then we climb the stairs, and his heart starts to race a little bit. Starts to freak out a little bit. He's breathing a little bit heavier. He's, oh my gosh, okay, we can do this. And he's talking himself into it. And he's getting really, really scared, but also kind of excited at the same time. And then we get to the line. You know how it's like there's the different gates, and then you get to the back of that line, and there's like no turning back at that point, right? And he starts to see the roller coasters go up this big, I don't know what you call it, like where it raises up in the air. I can't think of the word right now. Anyways, he sees that happening. He starts to freak out even more, and he starts saying things like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can get through this. I don't know if I can. Oh my God, I don't know if I can go on this roller coaster. And then we're next. And it's our time to go on the roller coaster. It's when you get to that point in your life when it's your time to shine. It's your time to actually take a courageous leap of faith. And in that moment, you can choose faith or fear. What did Peter do? Well, we got to open the gate, we walked over to the roller coaster, and Peter said, you know what, I'm doing it. And he sits down between me and Jim. And the gate comes down, you buckle a seatbelt, and you're like, oh my gosh, there is no turning back now. Peter's freaking the fuck out, panicking, going crazy. Jim and I are looking at each other smiling because we've been on this ride before. Notice how the people that you role model, the people that you look up to, they're looking at the things that you're afraid of, and they're smiling because they know you can get through it. So Jim and I are looking at each other, Peter's in the middle, and he grabs our hands. And he's squeezing our hands so tight. And he's panicked, and he's worried, he's freaking out, and all of a sudden the roller coaster goes. And he's like, oh my God. He starts like kind of freaking out, and it's a visceral, real reaction. And as we get up to the top, we're getting up there, and we start to go over the crest of that roller coaster. And getting over the crest of that roller coaster, Peter's freaking out, going nuts. Jim and I are laughing, having a good time. And I raise my left hand, Jim raises his right hand because our other hands are death grip by Peter. And we start going down the first drop on the Dueling Dragons roller coaster. I forget which one it was, Hungarian Horntail or whatever it is. And we're going down the drop, and Peter's screaming at the top of his lungs, like just screaming. And as he's going down that drop, about halfway, he's like, oh my God! And then he raises his hands up and he goes, this is awesome! And he starts screaming over the first lip. He's like, woo! And he's going nuts and celebrating and feeling totally alive. And he felt so invigorated and pumped up. My question to you is, what would happen if Peter never got in line? What would happen if Peter chose to listen to his fear and choose it to mean that he should go the other way instead of getting on that roller coaster? Where are you right now? Are you thinking about getting in line? Are you at the point where you're at the bottom of the stairs and you can't see the exit anymore? Are you at the top of the stairs? Are you at the beginning of that last queue? Are you at the gate, or are you getting on the ride? And are you someone that passes through that roller coaster and just goes right to the exit? Or are you someone that's strapping in, going to the top, and going down that ride? The one way to tame fear is taking action anyways. When you take action anyways, you will win. Fear goes away. And then you realize, do you think Peter can ride other roller coasters now? Absolutely he can. He can go on any roller coaster he wants to because he faced that fear. And he can go on the giant drop and all the scarier rides. And he might still feel a little bit of fear, but he'll do it anyways. And that leads me to number 6, which is when you're making these decisions and trying to figure out if something's actually a good idea or something to truly be afraid of from a fear survival perspective, how can we tell the difference? So basically what number 6 is, how to tell the difference between what's good and what's truly bad. And I learned this from Marie Forleo in her book, Everything is Figure Outable. Highly recommend that you read this book. And the answer is in your heart. So what I want you to do here, I'm about to ask you a question. I want you to think about something in your life right now that's terrifying, that's really, really, really scary. That's something where you just haven't fully pulled the trigger on it and you're afraid. Think about what that thing is. And I'm about to ask you a question. I want you to answer from your heart, not your mind. Never negotiate with the mind. The mind's job is to keep you safe. The heart's job is to expand. So answer from your heart. You need to feel it, not think, because your body has a wisdom way beyond logic. Your body has a wisdom way beyond logic. So first gut instinct, when I ask this question, just what's the answer? First thing, answer within a split second. Think about your thing, whatever that thing is you want to take action on. Ready for it? Does saying yes to this make you feel expansive or contracted? Does saying yes to this make you feel expansive or contracted? What's the answer? And that will tell you which way to go. Because for most things, it makes you feel expansive. If you're in a situation where you're about to drive through a sketchy neighborhood, does that make you feel expansive or contracted? Contracted, right? That's a real fear survival-based thing. But when it's launching your online business, that will make you feel expansive because it causes you to grow, causes you to change. So which is it for you? Listen to your heart because, like I said, your body has the answer. Your body has a wisdom way beyond logic. At Tony Robbins' UPW event, we walk on fire. We walk on fire. How the hell is it possible to get 10,000, 15,000 people in a room to walk on fire when that is a very real fear of burning your feet? And how does everyone do it? Because you listen to your body. You listen to your body. Will this cause me to be expansive or contracted? It'll cause me to expand because I'll prove to myself that I can do fucking anything I want. That's number 6. So now that we started to take action, number 7, what happens if you fail? Remember my story in the beginning about launching Appreciation Academy, about taking this leap of faith and starting a whole other business, whatever it is. What happens if you fail? Write this down. You win, you learn, but you never lose. You win, you learn, but you will never lose. There isn't a single instance where I messed up and it didn't lead to something amazing. There's not one single instance where I messed up and it didn't lead to something amazing. Let me give you a really good example. Breaking up with Janice. Janice and I always talk about this. Breaking up was one of the best things that ever happened to us. One of the best things that ever happened to us. Granted, at the time, I was a college frat boy, got elected president of my fraternity, and I had this big head. I was just kind of a douchebag. And I remember thinking like, yeah, you know what? I want to be single right now. And I broke up with Janice the night after I told her I loved her at a wedding. And I broke her heart. And it was like a week before her 21st birthday, and it was really tough. And it was one of the best things that ever happened. We were together for a year and a half. We were dependent people that needed each other to act a certain way in order to be happy. And from breaking up, a beautiful thing happened. We found who we really were as independent people. And we could come together in an interdependent relationship. That would have never happened if I didn't fail by breaking up with her. If that mistake didn't happen, there's no way we'd have such a beautiful relationship. There is no way in hell it would have happened. It was one of the best things that ever happened to us because we need to realize that we are always being guided. Another thing I already told you, my first webinar, right? From my first webinar that failed, we made one sale at $300 and I went through and it was just 500 people registered, thousands of dollars on ads, my first webinar. Do you think I learned something from that webinar? Yeah. Do you think I learned a lot about email show-up sequences to a webinar? Yeah, quite a bit. If I have 500 people register and 40 people show up, that is a learning thing to teach me how to get people to show up to webinars. Let me give you an example after college. When I graduated college, I went to work for Abercrombie & Fitch, and I hated it. No judgment to anyone that works there. No judgment to anyone that works in corporate America. I personally hated it. And I made the decision because I wanted to have the cool job, the high-paying job. I think it was something like $60,000 a year they were paying me as a 22-year-old kid or 21-year-old kid. I was so excited, but I got there, and it was not what I expected it to be. And you might consider that a failure. But it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because it led me to entrepreneurship. If I didn't go that route, there is no way I'd be where I am now. So we need to see all of our failures as a beautiful thing. Something good always comes out of every storm. Always. And hiding from failure, please hear me. Hiding from failure is like stopping a movie because the characters get into a tough situation. Let me repeat that. Hiding from failure is like stopping a movie because the characters got into a tough situation. Would you ever stop a movie at the part where the conflict shows up? No, because you want to see how the character resolves a conflict. You don't want to hide from failure. You want to go all the way into failure, and that leads me to number 8, which is realizing, this is our final one, that you are not a failure. You are not a failure. It is impossible for you to be a failure. If you believe you are a failure, it's the same thing as calling God a fucking asshole. Does that make sense? Right? It's calling God a failure for creating you. It doesn't make sense at all. It's your ego trying to keep you safe. You are not a failure. It's impossible for you to be a failure. The only way to truly fail is if you choose not to learn. Let me repeat that. The only way you truly fail is if you choose not to learn. If you believe that life is always happening for you and not to you, you will win because you're always being guided. And think about what these 8 tips, think about what it does. From viewing fear and failure in a different way, Are you going to take more action? Are you going to try that scary thing that you've been avoiding for such a long time? You're going to go after it. And when you go after it, what's going to happen to the bank account? It's going to go up. What's going to happen to the number of teammates that you sign? They're going to go up. What's going to happen to your confidence? It's going to go up. And all of a sudden, you're going to start feeling more fulfilled, more self-worth, more self-integrity, more self-confidence. You're going to feel alive. And think about what the long-term benefit of that is. What does it teach your kids when you have high self-worth, high self-esteem, and high confidence? That they can do anything they want. And what does it do to your relationship with your spouse? Do you show up differently for your partner? Massively. And on top of that, just the cool bonus, you get everything you've ever wanted, because chances are the thing that you're afraid of taking a leap of faith on is something that will help others get what they want. Chances are the thing that you're afraid of taking a leap of faith on is something that will help other people get what they want. And it brings me to the quote from Zig Ziglar. If you help enough people get what they want, you get everything you want. That's it. But you have to tame fear and failure if you want to do that. So I hope you find this valuable. Hope you can use this in your life. And don't forget, like, these emotions that come with fear of failure, they're very real, which is why I have that mindset first aid kit for you below this. That's your go-to guide when you're in the dark times and you don't know how to break through and you logically know this stuff, but you don't know how to snap out of it. Instead of just praying these limiting emotions go away, you're able to break through them in an instant and get back to building your legacy. Imagine no longer needing a week to get back on track, but instead you did it in seconds. That's what the Mindset First Aid Kit is for. It's linked up below. You can also find it at bradbizjack.com/mindset. And as always, if you find value in this podcast, share the shit out of it, man. Get this on your Instagram stories, get this on your Facebook, get this everywhere, and make sure to go in and give us a rating and review. I love seeing your feedback on how much this podcast has touched you. So if you feel compelled to, we'd love it if you left us a rating and review and share this in your stories and social. People need this message now more than ever. So I hope you found value today. Hope you found this valuable. Apply this. Share with me what you're going to do to change your life from this episode. My name is Brad Bizjack. Go out there today and every day and live your life with a genuine smile on your face. I'll see you next week.